All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how we find the vertex of a parabola if we don't have a graph. So looking at our objective, it says we can find the vertex of a parabola without the graph. For the last few days, we've been looking at if I got a picture, how can I find that point, that high point, that low point, right? And that's really what we've been focused on. But right here, we have the equation of a parabola, but we don't got no graph. So we got to be able to use what we have there to find the parabola. Now there's one secret, one special formula that we're going to use all over today, and that is what we call our vertex formula. And our vertex formula, you can find it right over here. It is negative b over 2a. Now what this thing is going to tell us is this is going to give us the x coordinate of the vertex. And then we are going to use that x-coordinate to find the y-coordinate, and that will complete the point that makes up the vertex. Here's how you're going to do it. So remember, first thing we want to do is list out A, B, and C. So in this situation, A is 1, B is 6, and C is 6. Remember, A, B, C, in that order. Now, once you have A, B, and C, we're going to use that vertex formula. So that vertex formula, again, is negative b divided by 2a. So if our b value is 6, I'm going to put a 6 right there. So I'm going to have negative 6 over 2, and that's 2 times a, right? So let's use parentheses down here. A is 1. Now, if you notice, that formula doesn't have a c in it, so you don't need to plug c in. So once you get this, we want to simplify this. This is going to be a negative 6 up top. 2 times 1, that is just 2. Now on our calculator, let's punch this in. Negative 6 divided by 2 gives us a big old negative 3. Now, here's the thing about that negative 3. You've done a lot of work to get that negative 3, but we're not quite done. That is the x-coordinate of our vertex, right? If this is our vertex, you have just found the x-coordinate. Your job now is to go back and find the y-coordinate. Here's how you do it. You are going to go back to your original equation, and this is where we're going to make use of all those calculator skills we've been developing. So if you don't have a calculator, you're going to want to pull that out right now. We are going to retype in this, but we're going to put parentheses around where the x is. And wherever we have those parentheses with the x, instead of putting x, we are going to put negative 3. So I'm going to retype this out exactly like I see it. So I have 1 parenthesis. Now inside the parenthesis, we're putting whatever we found over here, which was negative 3. So I'm going to have 1 times negative 3 to the second power plus 6 times negative 3. Right? I'm plugging negative 3 in wherever I see an x, and I make sure I have parentheses. And then the last thing I'm going to do is say plus 6. So when I hit enter, I get negative 3. So that means that my vertex is at negative 3, just like that. Let's do another one of these. We got to build some skills and practice this. So our formula is negative b over 2a. So first let's list out a, b, and c. So a is negative 1, b is, you bet, 4, and c is negative 8. So we're going to use that formula to start. So we're going to have negative 4, right, because I plugged in 4 where the b was. And then on the bottom where the a is, I'm going to put negative 1. So this is 2 times negative 1. It's multiplied. So up top, we have negative 4. And then on the bottom, 2 times negative 1 is, oh, duh, negative 2. So negative 4 divided by a negative 2 happens to be a positive 2. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You have found the first part of the vertex. So our vertex is going to be 2, comma, something. Now, what we want to do is take what we just found, use that information. We want to take that 2, we want to plug it in where that x is and where that x is. Now remember, when we do this, we got to be very careful and use our parentheses. So let's do it. Negative 1, parenthesis. What's going in where that parenthesis is? 2. So I'm going to put my 2 there. I'm going to make sure I got this now. This one's being squared, so I'm going to square it. Then I'm going to say plus 4 times 2 goes in there again, and then minus 8. And when you come over there and you hit enter, look what we get. We get -4. That comes out, which means this is our vertex, right? So find the x, plug it in, find the y, move on with your lives. Here's another one for you. Again, let's take this one a little slower. Let's start by figuring out A, B, and C. A is always that first number, so -2. B is that second one, so that's a +8. And C is that last guy, -9. The big formula you need to know today is -b over 2a. Now, our b value is a +8, so when I plug it in, it's going to become a -8 up top. And then on the bottom, I'm going to have 2 times -2. So coming on over, -8 stays as -8. 2 times -2 on the bottom becomes a -4. -8 divided by a -4 becomes a +2. Now, that 2 is important. That is the x coordinate of your vertex. That's the first piece. Now, let's go find the y. So we want to take that value and we want to plug it in here and here. So we are going to retype this whole thing in our calculator, but we're going to put parentheses around where the x is, and then inside those parentheses, we're going to put whatever we know x is equal to, which in our case was 2. So here we go. We're going to have -2, parenthesis, 2 to the second power. So far, we've typed out this much of it. Then we're going to say plus 8, parenthesis, 2. Now we've typed out this much. Last but not least, we need to say -9. And when you hit -9, you get a -1. So coming on over, since -1 is what we got out, that is the y coordinate. And that right there, 2, -1, is our vertex. See, we don't need a graph to do it, but we definitely do need that formula, -b over 2a, to generate it. Let's do a couple more of these. I know I got a bunch here. Maybe let's jump around a little bit. What's another one that looks tough? I bet if you were here, you would tell me this one looks tough because those numbers are big. So first, the same process, A, B, and C. A is going to be -2, B is going to be a +16, and C is going to be a -30. The formula you need to know, you need to have memorized, you need to be able to use is -b over 2a. Our b value is a +16, so when I put it up there, the negative makes that positive negative. So we have a -16 divided by 2 times a. A is -2, so that's what we're going to put in those parentheses. So I have -16 over 2 times -2. So I'm going to get a -16 over 2 times -2. That's a -4. -16 divided by a -4 is +4. So that becomes the x coordinate of my vertex. Once you get that x coordinate, ladies and gentlemen, it is your job to go back and plug it in, right? So first, let's just think steps here for a second. Our first step is always to use this formula. When I use -b over 2a, that's going to give me the x coordinate of my vertex, which we just found. As soon as you get the x coordinate, put parentheses around the original and plug in that 4 wherever you see an x. So to do that, we would have -2, parenthesis, 4 is what's going in there. That's being squared. And we say +16, parenthesis, 4 goes in those parentheses. And then last but not least, -30. And look what we get. We get a +2 that comes out. So our vertex here is 4, -2, just like you can see on the screen. Now, I want you to just be aware. What was hard about that, when we have big numbers, there really wasn't too much. It kind of just all goes, and we let our calculator do the biggest part of the work. What other problems do I see that look good? Let's maybe do one more together. Actually, how about this one? This one's a little goofy, and the reason is because when we try to find A, B, and C, it's kind of a little problematic. We know C is going to be 6. We know B is going to be -4, but there's no number in front of x squared. So remember, what that means is you can always put a 1 right in that spot, just like that. Our formula, the formula of the day, is negative b over 2a. So our b value is negative 4. Since that's a negative up there already, it's going to be like a negative, and then my negative 4 is going to come up there. And then we got to think to ourselves, well, two negatives always make a gosh darn positive, so we got to make that into a positive 4 up top. Now on the bottom, I'm going to have 2 times 1, which we know is just 2. And of course, 4 divided by 2, use a calculator if you need to, is 2. So I'm going to have parenthesis 2 as the first part of my vertex. Now to go ahead and find the second part of the vertex, you need to take 2 and you need to plug it in here and here. But remember, parentheses need to be used. So go to your calculator. Here we go. We're plugging in a 2. So we're going to have, I'm typing out this part. So 1 parenthesis, 2 is what's going in the parenthesis squared, minus 4 parenthesis, 2 is what goes in the parenthesis, and plus 6. And when we do, we get a 2 that comes out of that thing, making this our final answer. I don't want this video to get too lengthy, so I'm going to stop it there. But all of these problems are solved that exact same way. Negative b over 2a, and then plug it in using your calculator, ladies and gentlemen. That is how we find the vertex if we don't have a graph. For your homework, I think I got, looks like 10 problems down here for you to work on. So work on those. You're going to submit your answers on Schoology. And as always, if you have any questions, please just make sure you're reaching out and asking. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.